In February 2004, inside a cramped Harvard dorm room, a 19-year-old sophomore launched a website that would fundamentally reshape communication, politics, and human psychology. That student was Mark Zuckerberg. At the time, he was just a kid in a hoodie with a knack for seeing social patterns where others saw chaos. He did not just build a company, he built a global infrastructure used by billions. But the story behind Meta's empire is more complex than a simple tale of genius. It is a saga defined by cold decisions, massive risks, and a relentless drive to control the future of technology. This is the story of Mark Zuckerberg, the journey from a teenage coder to the controversial architect of the metaverse. We're going beyond the headlines to understand the man who decided that privacy was no longer a social norm and set out to map the entire human race. Mark Zuckerberg was born in 1984 in White Plains, New York. Growing up with a dentist father and a psychiatrist mother, technology entered his life as a tool for efficiency. At 12, he built ZuckNet, a messaging system for his father's dental practice. While other kids played video games, Zuckerberg was building communication systems. This early obsession with software architecture foreshadowed a lifelong interest, using code to bridge physical distances. His father even hired a tutor who called Mark a prodigy, noting it was hard to stay ahead of the boy's rapid progress. At Phillips Exeter Academy, Zuckerberg excelled in computer science and classical studies. He studied Latin and ancient Greek, languages that demand rigid structure and logic. This sharpened his analytical thinking. Coding, like Latin, is about syntax and precision. During his senior year, he co-created Synapse, an AI music player. Both AOL and Microsoft offered him nearly $1 million for it. Most teenagers would have taken the money, but Zuckerberg declined. He chose Harvard instead, showing early evidence of a trait that would define his career: a refusal to be bought out and a belief that his own path was more valuable than any corporate salary. In 2003, at Harvard, Zuckerberg built FaceMash, a site for comparing student photos. It went viral instantly but crashed the university's network and violated privacy policies. The incident revealed his defining DNA: a lightning speed of execution and a willingness to test social boundaries. FaceMash was short-lived, but it proved a powerful thesis that became the foundation of his wealth. Human beings have a primal urge to compare and rank one another online. The social graph had been discovered. It just needed a more respectable face. On February 4th, 2004, Zuckerberg launched https://www.google.com/search?q=thefacebook.com. Unlike existing sites, it was built on verified identity. This was the real name revolution. By anchoring profiles to real-world status, he created a high-trust, exclusive environment. Within weeks, half of Harvard had signed up, and they quickly expanded to the entire Ivy League. Zuckerberg realized he wasn't just running a directory, he was holding a digital map of human relationships. The project was no longer a hobby. It was a scalable network with the potential to replace the town square and the private diary all at once. By summer 2004, Zuckerberg made a pivotal move. He dropped out of Harvard and moved to Palo Alto. He saw that the window of opportunity for a dominant social network was narrow. In Silicon Valley, the team worked 20 hours a day, fueled by energy drinks and venture capital. Following Sean Parker's advice, they dropped the "the" to become simply Facebook. Zuckerberg understood that in software, network effects create winner-take-all scenarios. Speed mattered more than a degree, and the infrastructure of the future was being coded while his classmates were still taking midterms. In 2006, Yahoo offered Mark Zuckerberg $1 billion to acquire Facebook. Mark was only 22. Most of his board wanted to sell, but Zuckerberg walked into the meeting and simply said, "We're not selling." He believed Yahoo didn't understand the future and would stifle Facebook's growth. This rejection became legendary. It demonstrated his pattern of prioritizing long-term scale and personal control over short-term liquidity. He didn't want to be a wealthy former founder. He wanted to operate the world's most important communication utility. By May 2012, Facebook went public in one of the largest IPOs in history. However, the stock price tanked initially, and critics claimed Facebook couldn't survive the shift to smartphones. Zuckerberg recognized the existential threat and declared a mobile-first mandate. He re-engineered the company's entire advertising model for the small screen. It was a massive, high-stakes pivot under intense public scrutiny. The gamble paid off spectacularly. Within 2 years, mobile ads accounted for the vast majority of revenue, proving Zuckerberg could adapt his empire to new hardware paradigms with ruthless efficiency. Just weeks before the IPO, Zuckerberg negotiated the acquisition of Instagram for $1 billion. The tech world mocked him for buying a 13-person app with no revenue. But Zuckerberg saw that Instagram was capturing a younger demographic and a visual social graph that Facebook lacked. It was a masterstroke of defensive strategy. Buy your most dangerous competitor before they can kill you. Today, Instagram is worth more than 100 times what he paid. It proved his philosophy of aggressive neutralization. If you can't build it faster, buy it before it becomes a threat. 2 years later, he acquired WhatsApp for $19 billion. To the average user, it was just a texting app. To Zuckerberg, it was the key to the developing world. In countries like India and Brazil, WhatsApp is effectively the internet. This wasn't about ads, it was about data and dominance. By controlling the primary way billions send messages, Facebook became the invisible backbone of digital communication. He was no longer just a CEO. He was the landlord of the global digital commons, building a moat so deep that no startup could cross it. In 2014, Zuckerberg purchased Oculus VR. While many saw virtual reality as a niche gaming toy, he saw the next major computing platform. He bet that presence, the feeling of being digitally in a room with someone else, would be the future of social interaction. This marked the beginning of his quest for total vertical integration. He wanted to own both the hardware and the software, ensuring that Facebook would never again be beholden to the App Store rules of Apple or Google. The year 2018 brought the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Allegations that personal data was harvested to manipulate elections triggered global scrutiny. Zuckerberg was called to testify before the US Congress, answering grueling questions about privacy and governance. The event exposed the dark side of the social graph and a massive empathy gap between Silicon Valley and the world. His "move fast and break things" mantra had finally broken public trust. It forced a permanent pivot toward privacy-focused networking, though critics argued it was merely a cosmetic change. One of the most unique aspects of Meta's power is how Zuckerberg remains untouchable. Through a dual-class share structure, he holds majority voting power regardless of his actual ownership. He cannot be fired by his board. This founder-led dictatorship allows him to make 10-year bets like the Metaverse without worrying about quarterly earnings. However, it also means there is no check on his power. He is one of the most powerful, unelected individuals in history, and the mistakes of the company are his alone. In 2021, amidst mounting pressure, Zuckerberg rebranded the company as Meta. He committed tens of billions to building the Metaverse, an immersive 3D digital world. Critics called it a distraction from stagnating user growth, and Wall Street panicked, wiping hundreds of billions off the company's value. Yet, Zuckerberg remained unmoved. He is betting his entire legacy on the idea that in 20 years, we will look back at smartphones as primitive bricks, and that Meta will own the virtual air we breathe. Outside the office, Zuckerberg cultivates extreme discipline through yearly challenges. He has learned Mandarin, hunted his own meat, and recently took up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even winning tournaments. This reflects his business philosophy: stay in the game, endure the pressure, and wait for the leverage. He has transitioned from a scrawny coder into a physical competitor who is no longer trying to be liked, but trying to be effective. His competitive nature is now a manifestation of his desire for absolute self-optimization. With his wife, Priscilla Chan, he launched the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. They pledged 99% of their wealth to science and education. True to his nature, it's an LLC, not a traditional charity, allowing for flexible investments in lobbying. Their goal is to manage all diseases by the end of the century. It is an unimaginably ambitious engineering approach to human biology. Zuckerberg is attempting to apply the same logic that built Facebook to the messy realities of human life, ensuring his influence extends into the very cells of the human body. Zuckerberg became a billionaire at 23, one of the youngest in history. For years, he maintained a minimalist image, wearing the same gray t-shirt to avoid decision fatigue. For him, wealth has always been a scoreboard rather than a shopping list. It provides the dry powder needed to acquire competitors and the independence to ignore Wall Street while pursuing long-term visions. His wealth is a tool of sovereignty, allowing him to operate outside the normal constraints and pressures of human society. His leadership remains product-centric and data-driven. He famously uses war rooms for major launches and runs thousands of simultaneous experiments on his users to optimize engagement. This relentless optimization has been criticized for its impact on mental health, but from an engineering perspective, it created a machine that learns and scales faster than any competitor in history. Zuckerberg leads through the product, diving deep into code and UI even as a billionaire CEO. Today, Zuckerberg is a polarizing architect. His platforms influence elections, commerce, and culture. Supporters see a visionary who connected the world. Critics see a surveillance capitalist who concentrated too much power. This tension is the core of his legacy. He built a mirror of humanity, and the world is still grappling with the reflection. If we don't like what we see on his platforms, it is partly because he succeeded in capturing our true, unfiltered selves. From a teenager building Zucknet to the CEO of Meta, Zuckerberg's trajectory illustrates the power of software at a planetary scale. He has moved fast, broken things, and survived every challenge. The question is no longer whether he changed the world, but how his vision for the metaverse will redefine what it means to be human in the first place. We are all living in the social graph he mapped out 20 years ago, and he is just getting started. If you found this deep dive valuable, like the video and subscribe for more strategic biographies of the world's most influential founders. We analyze their blueprints to understand how the future is built. Leave a comment below. Is the metaverse a visionary bet or Zuckerberg's first major mistake? Thanks for watching.